Hello from me, Nik Gowing, in Villars in central Switzerland, not far from Lake Geneva. And I'm up in the mountains because gathering here are around 300 leading figures on the planet and climate. It's been a remarkable conference so far, and I thought I'd just give you some kind of tasters of what has been discussed, because there are pluses and there are negatives as well. But as one of the leading figures said here, we've been in therapy all day. That's because of the pressures now on many of these organizations, particularly from funding and particularly because of the politics led by the Trump administration. We've been in therapy all day, but there are positives. There are positives out there because, as one person said, there's green hushing going on steroids. Green hushing, continue to be courageous, but we're not going to talk about it. We don't want to be provocative. In other words, there's a lot going on green and climate and biodiversity and nature, which many of the companies, many of the leading figures simply don't want to talk about for fear of provoking backlash from those who are really against them. But as one senior figure said, underscoring the enormity of the challenge that's being faced, quote, "We are in an exponential horse race with sources of evil." And soberingly, he then added, "We are losing." And that very much is the mood here, that things have moved in the wrong direction, even though the science on the planet is equally, is just as sinister as it's been for many, many months, and is getting more sinister. I don't need to go into all of that. Companies are getting on with it, and they're not really talking about what they're doing for fear of provoking a backlash. I was involved in co-moderating the Global Commons Alliance meeting here. That's a gathering, a network of alliances, of groups, trying to decide which way forward and what to do. Let me give you a taster of what I was able to manage to get towards the end of the discussion. And it's summarized by Jane Madwick, who has given me permission, she's the executive director of the Global Commons Alliance, to summarize the kind of direction of travel and the optimism and the pragmatic optimism that there is. That the planet and the safe and just are unifying concepts. We need to change, though, the leading narrative, and that's a key word here, the narrative of what's being said and how it's being said, from nature and climate to peace and security. In other words, changing the framing of the scale of the problems that all of us are facing on this planet. Then there's creating a pressure for change, which has got to come particularly from the political class, to get motivators, to get both a mixture of fear and solutions. Trusted spaces need to be created, particularly with politicians, to bring new understanding, new vivid understanding of the enormity of what is happening and the fact that so many of the public are deeply concerned about what is happening, and that needs to be mobilized. So overall, the idea is to have a mobilizing both from the top and the bottom. Top down, many existing promising legal and government approaches, mechanisms for safeguarding the global commons, which have a common purpose and outcome, but then also the bottom up, creating new networks, new citizens' assemblies, that kind of thing, new networks of influences, challenging the narrative, becoming more active in order to put pressure on the companies and also particularly governments. But finally, change the risk and resilience lens. Risk-based approaches, motivating the economic actors, actually engage with the insurance companies, the investors and so on, to make them feel more comfortable about the realities as opposed to it being an adversarial relationship. That would be a major step forward. So what I hope I've done is given you a taste of what is happening among 300 people here at the Villars Summit. It's a remarkable summit. It's only been going 3 years, and it's now bringing together significant players of concern, and they realize that they don't have time and they need to act very fast, that the timeline is being compressed. And as that leading figure said, we are in an exponential horse race with sources of evil, and quote, "We are losing." So that's it from the Villars Summit.